Good morning and welcome. This is Sunrise Daily. I'm Ayo Makinde. Well, we talk about development and developmental issues on this program every day, and everyone agrees that a major infrastructure to all of this, a major backbone of every issue of development, solving the unemployment problem, job creation problem, food security or a lack of it, is the wider case of insecurity. I've talked about that quite a number of times on this program, even in this week. It seems the National Assembly is as concerned. Take a look.
Parliament resumes plenary for the week and delves straight into what is perhaps the most talked about issue since this 9th Assembly: security.
In Imo State, particularly,
Senator Rochas Okorocha draws the attention of the Senate to what he describes as worsening security situation in Imo State. He adds that this level of killings has not been recorded in the history of the state.
there's no day that passes in the state without one ugly story of kidnapping, killing, maiming, burning of innocent homes, shops on daily basis. Mr. Senate President, few weeks ago, it was the killing of traditional rulers. The other day, it was killing of a policeman, and few days ago, it was killing of an army man.
This Senate, and indeed the entire National Assembly, has been very consistent in trying to find some kind of solution, more permanent solution to ending the security situation in the country. And of course, we'll continue to do so. And I agree that we need to diversify our means of getting the solution to the numerous myriads of security challenges across the country.
I so second.
In the House of Representatives, an urgent motion on the need to look into cases of unresolved kidnap is considered, using the Southeast as reference.
The House notes that there have been a lot of cases of missing persons in the Southeast and in Anambra State in particular. The House further notes that among other crimes recorded during the said period was the kidnap of one Mr. Obiora Abasimelo, the candidate of Labour Party for the just concluded Anambra governorship election. He was kidnapped on the 18th of September 2021 in Anambra State.
The House resolves to urge the security agencies to quickly get to the root of the unresolved cases across the country and mandate its relevant committees to work with the security agencies and report back in 6 weeks. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Two things seem to stand out from that report: killings and kidnappings. And that's on the one hand. The cases of insecurity, and particularly raised by two lawmakers from the Southeast, essentially asking us to pay attention to insecurity issues as they are going on, rising, as some have also indicated, in the Southeast and different parts of the country. The second thing that stands out is that this insecurity seems to be going up the ranks. In the House of Representatives, you heard the lawmaker mention governorship candidates in the just concluded Anambra governorship elections. And of course, we also remember just a few days ago, issues around the killing of a Yobe State governorship candidate in some time past. And this is definitely something worrying. And one of the issues that's also from the report that you've just seen is that there are many unresolved kidnappings and missing person cases. And those are the people that we cannot even begin to name. Many, seems that report indicates. And I'm just wondering exactly where we are going with all of this. I just want to believe that there are indeed solutions around the corner. The President of the Senate mentioned other solutions. So the question then will be, what other solutions will the security agencies be asking for? There is a particular catalyst to all of this that has been mentioned even by security agents, which is the rising cases of poverty, unemployment, in particular. So what are we doing? I really think that all authorities at various levels need to speak to Nigerians in order for us to know exactly what is being done and how soon we can resolve some of these major issues that are confronting us on a daily basis. Because if the issues around unemployment, around job creation, around opportunities are not there, I'm wondering if indeed we can resolve these issues. So the solutions, other solutions that the President of the Senate is suggesting, I'm wondering who is going to bail the cart. Parkway.
Well, the Senate, as you rightly pointed out, and I think the report also pointed out, is no stranger to the to matters of insecurity that have bedeviled the nation over the last couple of years, but seem to have gotten more intense, should we say, in the last, say, 3, 4, 5 years. The intensity sometimes vary. It gets so bad sometimes, then it tapers down. Then it gets up again, and then it tapers down. Right now, it's very difficult to say where we are, but we know that the insecurity that we currently experience is as a result of many factors, some of which you have already mentioned: rising unemployment, poverty, and a number of other things. And there is those who, put in the religious part of it, growing fanaticism, and then there's also the political aspect of it, a growing intolerance for the tenets of democracy, and in some instances, just hate, hate just spewing from nowhere. I mean, maybe arising from how we've played politics so far, and somehow there's just been no reconciliation. There's been no attempt to try and calm things down. So, or maybe they have been, and they just haven't been as successful as they ought to be. These are the things that we've seen. It's a potpourri of issues. And the Senate has come up at different times, depending on how, where the complaint of insecurity is coming from. The Senate and the House of Representatives have at different times come up with different solutions. Some of them which we have seen manifest. We've seen some, well, maybe not as they want it. I mean, there have been talks around state police. We've seen regional security outfits spring up. Maybe they don't like to call them regional security outfits, but they were inaugurated together. State security outfits, let's go with their term. And they haven't, in some areas they have helped. In some other areas, they didn't quite get off the ground. So referring more specifically to Amotekun in the southwest and Ebubeagu in the southeast. There have been other measures by the people, or should I say radical elements among the people, to come up with their own security outfits. So it all sometimes springs up depending on what the problem of insecurity is perceived to be. And in some instances, it tends to work against those perceived to be outsiders. When the problems are internally generated, when they are an internal problem, those mechanisms sometimes do not work as well. And that's why we'll continue to see, we continue to experience the killings which we see. So, for instance, how do you explain that people, sleep in hotels and nobody finds their body the following day? They're reported dead. Or how do you explain that, babies are missing? Those kinds of, things that we didn't hear before now. Or maybe they happened, but they were so few and far between. The intensity with which they are reported these days really makes one support the comment of the Nobel laureate, Professor Wale Soyinka, that indeed we need our humanity back. I do not know how we're going to start that conversation, but, be we rich or poor, some things are inexcusable as long as one continues to answer the name and the term human being. Yes, we know that poverty can dehumanize people. We know that there are situations that, make people live in inhuman conditions. However, I would say that the conversation needs to start from there. How do we begin to remind our society that the first duty we have to ourselves is to first of all be human, to really live by that term, to differentiate ourselves from lower animals, because we indeed have the intellect, regardless of, whatever our situation is. in the meantime, let us wait, as you rightly said, let us wait and see what are the solutions the Senate and the House of Representatives will be coming up with. Because, yes, much as their complaints have been noticed, right now what we truly need are solutions. Solutions to let Nigerians be able to live to their fullest potential within the ambit of the Constitution and within the territory that is their country. Ayo.
Well, but going to some of the issues you raised about our humanity, it only reminds me of something right in the center of my town. As you get into the center of the town, you see a signpost that says, "Remember the son of whom you are." I want to believe that everyone in any leadership position remembers the son of whom they are and whom their children are, because eventually we will all answer to nature one way or another. Let's go to the papers this morning and see what to read from them. We begin with the Vanguard newspaper this morning, which seems to also be interested in the countdown, but maybe not directly like that. The Vanguard newspaper opens today with ENDSARS report, no massacre at Lekki, FG insists. The story you'll find on page 5 of the paper. Lagos panel report, a sham can't be acted upon. Says too many gaps, errors, omissions in report render it hoax. Notes its triumph of fake news, intimidation of silent majority by a vociferous lynch mob. Adds report ignored 57 Nigerians, 37 policemen, 6 soldiers killed during protests. Police challenge attacks witnesses to come forward. The story is on page 5. It's very interesting looking at this, given that in the same press briefing given by the Minister of Information and Culture, says, well, maybe it's a little too early to talk about the report until it is published and until there is a white paper and then all these. But anyway, I guess you get the details on page 5. Oh, by the way, the government of Lagos State promised in 6 days? In 6 days, the report will be out. The white paper will be out. So I guess we'll wait and see then. Other stories on the front page, beside the picture, hike. We don't have control over cooking gas price. That story is on page 7. So what happens? Find the details on the inside pages of the paper this morning. The back page has sports. Osimhen out of AFCON, doubtful for World Cup playoff, surgery successful, and several other stories you'll find interesting on the back page of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Alpa.
Well, let's take a look at what the Daily Trust has for you on the front page. They capture the story this way. Federal government punctures Lagos ENDSARS panel report. Identifies 10 loopholes. Says it's triumph of fake news. No massacre at Lekki toll gate. We're awaiting committee's report that according to Lagos State government, federal government not legally bound by panel reports. That's according to a senior advocate of Nigeria. Well, they have infographics for you stating the 10 loopholes that the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, referred to yesterday. It's right on the front page for you. You also have this story here. Boko Haram forcing parents to withdraw children from schools. That's according to Niger State government, and we truly have to do something about that because the name is Boko Haram. Education is forbidden, and if they are succeeding in making sure that parents do not enroll children in schools or preventing the children from going to school when they are enrolled, then one can say they're already winning the war. And we have to see what we can do about that. We cannot let that happen. Niger government also says 151,380 villagers displaced in 30 communities. These are people. You have a number of other stories here for you. EFCC grills Fanikade for forgery, that's there. Reps pass bill to end HND degree dichotomy. We can't control cooking gas pricing. That's attributed to the federal government. Well, and as if that is not enough, World Bank to Nigeria end fuel subsidy in 6 months. So it would seem, I don't know. You might want to read all the details on page 6 and 20 of the paper. Let's leave it there for Daily Trust.
Well, the New Telegraph has this one. FG rejects Lagos panel's report on Toll Plaza massacre. Let's find the story on pages 3 and 30. Front page of the New Telegraph this morning says it's triumph for fake news. FG should challenge report in court, says Ezekome, SAN. I won't speak until white paper is released. Adegborowa says witnesses who feel threatened should report to police. CP Odumosu. Interesting. Lai Mohammed dismisses clamor for his resignation. All of that you find on the front page of New Telegraph this morning. And right beside that picture, ultimatum. Appropriations Committee must conclude budget defense in 24 hours. Ascribed to the President of the Senate, as well as the one right under it. Fuel subsidy. FG to pay 5,000 naira monthly to 40 million deserving Nigerians. Deserving is in parentheses. And the details of what that means on page 3 of the New Telegraph this morning. How significant is that? The details you'll find on the inside pages. That's the New Telegraph this morning.
Doubt says federal government plans to reimburse poor Nigerians, cancel fuel subsidy. Well, poor is in parentheses there. Doubt says federal government plans to reimburse poor Nigerians, cancel fuel subsidy. Petrol price to hover between 320 naira and 340 naira per litre. El Rufai, state will support total removal of fuel subsidy. NNPC GMD, subsidy will be removed early 2022. Experts warn petrol equalization may truncate. Beg your pardon. Experts warn petrol equalization may truncate deregulation policy. Cash payment induces corruption. So you find all the details on page 2 of the paper. So very forcefully and vociferously, this conversation around fuel subsidy is coming back to the front pages. And you might want to see details on page 2 about it. We've been here, done that, heard the conversations, heard the arguments for and against, back and forth. Oh, we removed it. No, we haven't. It's been deregulated. No, it hasn't. There's no subsidy. It's under recovery. You know, the many conversations. But you might want to know what this is about this time around on page 2, especially now that there are possible prices to what petrol could look like, 320 naira and 340 naira per litre. And look at this, federal government, hashtag ENDSARS report, recycled fake news, tales by moonlight. There's a story on page 2. And a number of other stories at the bottom, which I'll leave you to do yourself, but take a look at this one. Immigration yet to release orderlies seized international passports. So they have that story for you on page 4 of the Guardian newspapers. Let's leave it there for the paper.
Nigerian Tribune goes to poor Nigerians to get 5,000 naira per month after fuel subsidy removal, FG says. The story is on pages 5 and 6. Without subsidy removal, 35 states may be unable to pay salaries in 2022. Ascribed to El Rufai. 35 states. Whoa. Out of 36? Well, you find the details on pages 5 and 6 of the paper this morning. And right above the nameplate, you see something related. Petrol may sell at 340 naira per litre in 2022, ascribed to NNPC. Find the story on page 6 of the paper this morning. And right under the paper, that's story in a black strip, residents cry out as prices of charcoal, firewood jump by 68%, LPG by 200%. Whoa. Find the story on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Margaret.
Let's look at leadership for you. Lagos ENDSARS panel. CSOs divided over federal government's dismissal of report as fake news, okay? That's what they have on the front page. Page 4 will give you details. Information Minister says report full of errors, calls panel a disgrace. It's a shoddy job, waste of resources. That's what leadership has on the front page. It's very tempting to just, want to ask a few questions, but I think I'll hold them for when we eventually are able to get a hold of the minister. Page 4, in the meantime, we'll give you details of this. Fuel subsidy removal. Federal government to spend 200 billion naira on palliatives monthly. They also have that story just beneath the nameplate for you. Niger raises the alarm over ISWAP Boko Haram camps near Kainji. And you know why we all should be concerned about that? Not just the fact that terrorists are, in a state in the north central of the country. They're no longer confined to the northeast. They are now moved north central. Let's not forget the alarm raised by Nasarawa governor that Boko Haram, is very, very close to the federal capital territory. Let's not also sweep this one aside. Right now, they're close to a very strategic dam which supplies the entire country electricity. That's Kainji. So even if we dismiss and we're not interested in the fact that children are not able to go to school, what about, the fact that the entire country could be thrown into darkness as a result of whatever evil these terrorists have up their sleeves? Well, page 7 is where we have the warning. Niger raises the alarm over ISWAP Boko Haram camps near Kainji. And you also see this, Oshibajo tasks directors on grooming youths for leadership. We'll leave it there for leadership newspapers.
Very instructive, attention-drawing story there, Mokwe, about electricity and Kainji Dam. As Chief Sobradaya would say, to be forewarning is to be forearming. Nigerian News Direct has this one, alleged 20.5 billion naira budget padding. Conclude budget defense today, Lawan tells Appropriation Committee. Story on the inside pages. As NDLEA denies alleged budget padding, says 4.5 billion naira meant for its barracks, not police. Senate unravels controversy over 16 billion naira new map loan. All of that you'll find on the inside pages of the paper this morning. And so many other stories that you can choose your pick as you wish. And within Nigerian News Direct this morning, we'll leave off for the papers today. We're back in a moment to take on the issues for the day. Do stay with us.
A 9-man panel saddled with responsibilities to investigate reports of alleged police brutality and restitution for victims of SARS held its sittings for a little over a year, and the outcome is this 309-page document presented to the governor.
After for emphasis, we're seeing this for the first time.
The Lagos State Governor is now looking forward to a 4-man panel report that will produce a white paper expected to be ready about 6 days from now. Lawyers and civil society groups have asked the government to ensure full implementation when the white paper is ready. President Muhammadu Buhari, on his part, through his social advisor and media, is waiting to see how the various states deal with their findings before the federal government's intervention. But that intervention seems to have come with the Minister of Information rejecting the ENDSARS report of Lagos, calling it the worst ever produced by a judicial panel of inquiry in Nigeria. According to him, the report is riddled with many errors.
Without mincing words, let me say right away that never in the history of any judicial panel in this country has his report been riddled with so many errors, inconsistencies, discrepancies, speculations, innuendos, omissions, and conclusions that are not supported by evidence. What is currently circulating in public space is simply a rehash of the unverified fake news that has been playing on social media since the incident of October 20th, 2020.
The minister also explains that he heard in some quarters people calling for his resignation, but that he will not do so, maintaining that there was no massacre in Lekki Toll Gate in Lagos.
There is absolutely nothing in the report that is circulating to make us change our stand that there was no massacre at the Lekki Toll Gate on October 20th, 2020. For us to change our stand, a well-investigated report of the incident that meets all required standards and will withstand every scrutiny must be produced and presented to the public.
The minister then takes time to highlight what he calls errors on the report.
How can a judicial panel convince anyone that the names of some casualties of the Lekki Toll Gate of toll gate incident listed as numbers 3, Jide, 42, Tola, and 43, Wisdom, are not fictitious names? They have no surnames, and yet they were confirmed dead. It is simply incredible that the judicial panel set up to investigate an incident has submitted a report laden with allegations, the same allegations it was set up to investigate in the first instance. Instead of sitting for all of 1 year, the panel could have just compiled social media tales by the moonlight on the incident and submitted, saving taxpayers' funds and everyone's time.
From all indications, this may not be the last comment on the ENDSARS panel report. As a matter of fact, the minister's response is likely to open another floodgate of debate on the leaked report. And this, of course, raises more anxiety among Nigerians and the international community on the real report and how the authorities will eventually deal with the recommendations therein.
Yep, we're counting down 6 days to the report of the white paper of the Lagos State government on the ENDSARS panel that it set up last year. And as you have seen and heard, there's been a lot of conversations and agreements and disagreements on this, and we've heard all kinds of sides. Let's hear from another one who is a legal practitioner and lawyer to ENDSARS campaigners, Mr. Adeshina Ogulano, former chairman, Nigerian Bar Association in Ikeja branch. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
Well, you certainly have been hearing all kinds of things and reading all kinds of things, and definitely also getting calls and reactions since the leaked report went out and the Lagos State government received the official report from its panel set up a year ago. How have you been taking this on board, and maybe your clients by extension?
Well, thank you. You know, the report itself has taken the nation by storm. One ordinarily ought not to be so highly celebratory of this report, assuming it's a normal country, it's a normal system. If things have been going on normally, then it should just have been the norm that when a panel duly constituted
and filled with competent people, when they do their work, they're expected to come out with the truth as they see it, as just as Judge will say, as per the evidence before me. But the history, the antecedent, the precedent of what we have in this country is that government bodies, government agencies, because the panel is a government body, they've not had the history of usually coming out with the truth. So many people are very skeptical, even when this Okuobi panel was set up. That is the Lagos State Judicial Panel of Inquiry into police brutality and other related matters, or as they first put it euphemistically, they said the Lekki shooting incident. You know, that what could come out of it? Well, there's nothing, you're just wasting your time. Those of us who went there to represent petitioners in respect of the Lekki incident, which we always maintain is a massacre, people are so skeptical. And so when the report came out and it damnified the government, the state, the federal government by way of its agencies, I'm talking of security agencies now, the Nigerian military and the Nigerian police, it was shocking because that was not was expected given the history of panels in Nigeria. And so you could now imagine that government in Nigeria must have been badly hit because you are being indicted by the panel that you set up yourself. The Lagos State government set or composed this panel exclusively, you know. And at the end of 30 months, near 30 months of work, they came out with 309 pages indicting. And you know, the issue of the Lekki toll gate massacre was controversial, ab initio, to speak as a lawyer, right from the onset. Some people said it was a Nollywood film, it was acting, it was a deliberate campaign to malign the government of Nigeria and all that. But so many other people, many more other people believe otherwise. Now, a verdict had come. Incidentally, before the verdict came out, the positions that we are waiting for the panel, we are waiting for the verdict. Now the verdict had come out. It's now getting very difficult for some people to accept the fact of this. And many of these people who are either members or loyalists or supporters of what we call the ruling, in Nigeria we call them the ruling party, you know, instead of just being decent, you know, they are cherry picking, they are trying to look for flaws, and, you know, clutching at straws, just trying to save themselves. This one is a government panel. It's not a student union panel. It's not a panel set up by labor activists or civil society that will say they have bias. It was set up by government. And I participated. And exhaustively. And when I was listening or hearing or reading what the very interesting Minister of Information had to say, I was just smiling and feeling sad at the same time, not only because he's a minister, but it happens, they said he's a lawyer. If you are a lawyer, a lot of things were wrong with the position he took. You know, he was just fulminating, he was just vituperating, abusing the panel members, and he's a lawyer. You know, this man could actually be referred to the RPC. He was just talking anyhow, and he was talking partisan like a politician, not as a leader. You see, when you see the history of politicians in Nigeria is that they don't accept verdicts once it does not be for them.
But you know, what's interesting here, Mr. Obilano, is so far, it's everybody knows it. The one that is in public is a leaked report. And there are those who believe that, to a large extent, this may not be the official report. Are you saying that this is the official report?
Yes.
How would you know? It's the government has not released it.
You see, let me go into the jurisprudence of that. There are a lot of, well, the word that came to my mind is what we call, I would say in Yoruba, boju boju, or hide and seek. You know, you have this story, you have this arrangement, legal arrangement, which are actually shields to the establishment. You say, when you set up a committee, when you set up a panel, the law is that, well, the panel will now make recommendations to a government, which will issue a, what do you call it, a white paper on it. And it is that white paper, not the report itself, that will count.
But that's the official position. That's what the law says.
I'm a lawyer. And now I'm telling you the jurisprudence behind it. Okay. That is Ojoro, what cheating. You see, the important thing is that these gentlemen, the panel, did a report. And then you have already built in the law. And that's why I say what you call the law is a preference or the values of the ruling class. When you now begin to say, oh, the report is not what's going to matter. If under the law, you are not compelled to even accept a single line of recommendation, you understand? And they code the law for you. And when they begin to code the law for you, when they begin to insist on due process in Nigeria, you can say, when people choose, go to court, go to court. They know it. The British who gave us this law, they don't practice it this way. A lot of decency, a lot of personal decency, dignity, a sense of historical responsibility come to play in the exercise and discharge of political powers and administrative powers. But in this country, the reverse is the case. That's why somebody will mock you. Say, go to court now. Have you not gone to court? Go to court now. Even as a lawyer, I will go to the police station to represent a client, and the police officer, even senior one, will say, lawyer, don't come and disturb us here. You go to court and wait for us there. Is that the law? So what I'm trying to tell you is this. Lagos State government set up a panel, and they've also constituted what you call a white paper committee, the committee for the white paper. Now that's quite amusing again, because the head of that particular white paper is the participants. That's the Attorney General of Lagos State.
Is that against the law?
I'm telling you, and anybody insisting law, I will continue to tell them that law swims in the ocean of sociology, of reality. The gentleman is a member of the Security Council of Lagos State. In fact, those of us that were there, via his ministry, that particular panel was facilitated by his office. And he used to come occasionally and all that. And we could see, and they've let loose their own legal representative there. I'm talking with respect to my learned friend, senior counsel, Abia Owonikoko, who have been saying a whole lot of things on their behalf of all that. In fact, actually, undermining the very position of the Lagos State government, who by its Commissioner for Information Strategy, Gbenga Omotosho, was asking for people to keep their gunpowder dry and to wait for the outcome and all that kind of a thing. Now, what Mr. Lai Mohammed has done is, even, honestly speaking, politically, if you are conscious, bullying Lagos State. The federal government did not set up the panel. The panel did not submit the report to federal government. You understand? And here you see the minister of the federal government dismissing the panel, tearing the report apart, and already setting an agenda for Lagos State. Meanwhile,
do you see the possibility of the Lagos State government, that committee, being bullied?
Which of the committees? The panel?
The white paper committee. The panel
the white paper.
Do you see that happening?
Yes. Lagos, you see, like I was saying, you can't begin to isolate the reality of the existence of law in the environment and habitat of politics and sociology. Lagos State is an APC government controlled. The federal government in Lagos is controlled, you understand. And what Mr. Lai Mohammed has done is what in Yoruba is called subordination. You see, you are putting your nose in what does not concern you. I think Femi Adesina has correctly maintained a position earlier, that's about 5 days ago, that we are waiting. And I mean, speaking for the presidency, we will wait for the states. I think maybe it was even the president himself who said it, or Mr. Femi Adesina, whoever said it. That's the correct, proper position. Now, the gentleman said, we have been way out of the country. Now we are here. We have studied it. And it's a rehash of Tales by Moonlight. How could somebody begin to say that you were not there as a petitioner, you are not there as a witness, you are not even there as an observer? You are not even there as an observer, and you didn't even send legal counsel to represent you.
Well, he listed 10 loopholes.
Give me one.
I'm very sure that you have read all of them.
Let me break the ones that I consider major in his own view. Okay. He was talking about the forensic report. And just as I was wondering, this gentleman is a lawyer like me, trained. Every lawyer knows that the opinion of an expert, first of all, is not sacrosanct. A judge is not compelled to accept the view of an expert. That's one. Then two, there are two experts. The views of the two experts do not agree exactly on all the same points. Then, most crucially, what Mr. Lahi Mohammed was quoting, it's just like when they are arguing from the Quran or the Bible, they just quote one portion like this. If you are not versatile, you are not aware of the real extent of the thing, you may be misled. He was quoting the expert view of the forensic fellow brought in by Lagos State government, and even at that, in only half. In that report by Oxygen, or they call it the company, forensic company Oxygen, the expert himself admitted that the medical records that he studied show that there are some of the victims who suffered injuries from military-grade ammunition. Like Mohammed did not say that. And if you are not part of the panel, if you didn't participate, if you don't have the report, which I have, like that particular forensic report, you wouldn't know that. That is one. Then the gentleman was talking about people, where are the families? In fact, that's so laughable. So laughable. It's because you say, where are the families of the deceased? How is the government, how is they going to pay the patients? Is the proceedings of this particular panel that I will use to just counteract what I said. Professor Bafungwa, by virtue of cross-examination of another lead counsel for the ENDSARS petitioner, that is my brother, Olumide Fusika, SCN, was compelled to bring records of 99 people who are picked all over the state, including 3 that they agreed came from Lekki. The question is this: these people, these 99 people, despite heavy announcement by Lagos State government for people to come and identify their bodies, very few people came.
Why is that?
That's the reality, because you see, let me tell you, if you are an elite like you or me, there are some very wrong assumptions you make because you are not in connect with the reality of our people. If for example, you say, oh, I have family, I have numbers, as I'm going, I've left my phone and my contact with my people and all that kind of a thing. That is not the reality of many Nigerians. You see, let me tell you, even dealing with the living, the people that survived, and I'm speaking on my honor, it was very difficult to get there. Just a fraction of people who are injured or who are eyewitnesses that managed to come. When we were handling them, there was a day we came with a bus load of them. Their mothers, fathers were with them. At least 5 refused point blank at that point to come down again.
It's still a little befuddling why that happens. As you said, perhaps there are some realities. Just 1 second.
Okay,
perhaps there are some realities that
intimidation.
One is not aware of. You'll speak to that intimidation, but let's listen to this same thing that the minister talked about in the light of what we're talking about.
There's absolutely nothing in the report that is circulating to make us change our stand that there was no massacre at Lekki on October 20, 2020. I repeat, there is absolutely nothing in the report that is circulating to make us change our stand that there was no massacre at the Lekki toll gate on October 20th, 2020. For us to change our stand, a well-investigated report of the incident that meets all required standards and will withstand every scrutiny must be produced and presented to the public. The report in circulation does not meet those requirements. We also appeal to the families of those allegedly killed in Lekki, at the Lekki toll gate, to speak out and come forward. It's untenable to say that some families did not come out because they are afraid. With the same families that are afraid and did not come out, will they collect? Will it be morally right for them to come and collect compensation on behalf of their wards who could not even come out to testify for? Any parent who is afraid to testify about the death of his or her child is not worthy to become a parent.
Well, you want to respond to that?
Yes. There's a lot to respond to what Mr. Mohammed has just said. He was said it's not tenable, that that people are afraid, and so it's not to him. It's not tenable. I've told you that it belongs to the class of people who are disconnected from reality of life. Look, let me tell you, even now, just 3 days ago, for Sunday night, my client, Kamsis Chuku, was attacked, was caught brutally. Our fellow colleagues who went to see her in the hospital to follow up on her matter, they came out only to meet envelopes stuck to their car, that you are next and all that. I've been finding it very difficult to persuade these ladies to make a report to the police. In fact, I heard that the Commissioner of Police, Akim Odumosu, was saying that people should come up and if they know that it is true and all that. Why? To him, it's strange. And he says anybody who's a parent and cannot come out is not worthy to be called a parent. It's sorely mistaken. Our people have been heavily traumatized, and are afraid, and it's a shame that in a constitutional democracy, what you find a situation, people are afraid. In fact, 2 days ago, I was being told by somebody, are we having the Abacha? Are we having the Abacha years back again? I said, well, not yet, not quite. We had the press conference. In the afternoon, we finished, only for my clients to start calling me. This is what happened to us in the hospital, and all this kind of a thing. Now, again, he was saying something about scrutiny. Everything had to be put to scrutiny. Let me tell you something, my brother. I was at that panel. What are you going to scrutinize again? Look, of all the parties that came to the panel, and I can mention them, the military was there, the police was there, the LCC was there, where the scene took place, the government of Lagos was there, forensic experts were there, pathologist was there, the medical doctors who treated the victims were there, and then the ENDSARS protesters were there. Of all this group of people, only the ENDSARS people gave eyewitness account. There's something we call probative value. The most potent of them, except where it is ludicrous, is eyewitnesses' account. On that day, there are four main groups that ordinarily were eyewitnesses. The protesters, the managers of the LCC, the Nigerian police, and the military. Of these four, only the protesters came to the panel to give evidence. The military came and brought only one person, that's General Taiwo, who was not an eyewitness. After the cross-examination of that gentleman, all the summons served on people who would have been eyewitnesses, who could give eyewitnesses account before the panel, like Lieutenant Colonel Bello, who led the squad, that assaulted these people, did not come. Well, just a minute. I'm going to a point. You see, if you are not there, our witnesses gave account, this is what happened, soldiers do this, policemen did this, and this, and this, and this, and you are the soldiers, and you didn't come. And the panel warned, because people like us were agitated, maybe they should compel them to come. Of course, using what you call experience, the court or the panel knows that a court will not make an order in vain. Who will arrest major generals, who arrest soldiers, even ordinary corporal, a panel. So, but they want them. They served them more than 3 or 4 times. They refused to come. They are the ones who will have debunked Sarah Ibrahim.
What's the implication of them not showing up?
This is very clear. Oh, Sinile Olerekere, you are not there when they are sharing the meat. And you are complaining. We have been served notice. Oh, we are sharing meat today. Oh. And you refuse to come. And when you don't say, oh, what a miserable portion they give me. When you have notice of an ongoing case against you, due notice, and you refuse to come. In fact, the first thing is that you are running away because you have things to hide.
Well, Mr. Oglado, just a second. There are so many other things to unpack from what the minister has said and some of the things that you have also said.
Yes.
Because it's very important to lay certain issues, at least give an understanding of what is happening. But we'll unpack a little more when we return from this short break. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Counsel to ENDSARS campaigners, a legal practitioner, and former chairman of the NBA Ikeja branch, Additional Ogunlana, is with us this morning. Thank you very much for being with us one more time. Well, something you said the other time that I've been trying to find a good place to ask you about. When you said that the panel of inquiry is not under obligation to take on board the account or the witnesses or anything that anyone says in the panel, in front of the panel as witnesses and all of that. What do you mean?
No, kindly come again.
When you said earlier, we were talking that, look, anything that that is said, that the experts or witnesses or whatever says at the panel, the panel of inquiry is not under obligation to take them. What does that mean?
But that is it now. The panel or a court of law, a tribunal of law, is not a robot. When you present your case, they will evaluate it. That's all what even our traditional set, even at home, it's not enough to come before daddy or mommy and make allegation against Sister Ronke or Brother King and say all sorts of things. They want to weigh. They want to weigh the sensibility, how reasonable, how credible your statements are.
So what then is the essence of expert opinion if it doesn't count?
See, I didn't say expert opinion do not count. I said it is not sacrosanct. This is the law. The mere fact that somebody is an expert in any field in itself is just an advantage because it's an expert that is speaking to a field where is a specialist. You understand? Well, okay. For example, if somebody says, I'm an expert and I've examined the private part of a purportedly raped a lady, and you claim that you are an expert. You now wrote as an expert, that it is rape. Yet, the hymen, and the person is supposed to be virgin, the hymen was not broken, there was no laceration, there was no deposit of semen, and you are presenting to a judge who is a layman in the medical field, you understand? The judge who is a layman is not now under obligation to say, because an expert says it, automatically I must accept it.
But that's the basis upon which some of the allegations are based. Part of the things that the minister said. Just 1 second.
Wait, I've shredded it. When I started with the issue of the forensic expert.
But it's not the only one that has spoken to it. Some counsel to the Lagos State government have also spoken in the same vein, saying that some of the findings that the panel, that are included in the panel, were not factored into the findings and recommendations of the panel.
I do not agree with that, except I'm confronted specifically with the issues they raise. You know, one thing is this. Lawyers are on divides. So the lawyer representing Lagos State government were there. It was their panel, and that set of legal team had all the watchers to prosecute their case. In fact, we wanted to bring independent forensic experts. When the company gave us a bill of 25 million, we could not afford it. Lagos State government could afford to bring their own expert, forensic expert. You will find out that Mr. Lai Mohammed did not quote anything from, well, you may not know it, but there are two experts. The expert, that's one they call Sentinel. That's the independent expert, forensic expert, engaged by the panel. The other one that our minister was quoting was the expert engaged by Lagos State government. And even I said, even at that, is a portion of that report that he quoted. And that's not quite nice. The other portion of that report by the Lagos State engaged forensic expert wrote there that there were victims who were injured by military-grade ammunitions. And this is the reality. Somebody else can come tomorrow and say, oh, Golana was lying and all that kind of thing. They should bring the report. I participated. I cross-examined the gentleman, the expert, that was presented by Lagos State, by government, you know. And you find out that Lai Mohammed or any other person was just cherry picking. You see, I was talking about scrutiny that Mr. Mohammed was talking about. What do you want the panel to do? The military ran away midway. There was no eyewitness. The best way to confront somebody will say, oh, you did this, you did this. The officers, Colonel Bello and his men will come, maybe two or three of them. No, it did not happen. Or matter, who halted the carnage? Okay, is this panel say, oh, anybody to be sanctioned should not include the matter? It was a matter who came to halt the carnage. He was not there. General Ndagi, who is the highest military officer who represents the military in the Security Council of Lagos State, was not there. Mr. Akim, the head of service of Lagos, Muri Okola, who came, who is not a member of the Security Council. The members of the Security Council from Lagos State are the civilians, the governor himself, the secretary to the state government, the chief of staff to Lagos State, and the speaker. These are, if the governor is kept under one constitutional finger, you know that what of the speaker? What of the secretary to the state government? What of the chief of staff? They now brought one, you know, called civil servant, Muri Okola, the head of service, to come and be talking. And even they themselves, and you remember that the governor has been recorded by admitting to deaths. You understand? And it was, yes.
I don't understand. Say he admitted to
deaths, to people dying. Yes, now in his broadcast, in the earliest, in fact, it was replayed back to them when it was said, this is the darkest hour of our period, forces beyond our control and all those kind of a thing. What I'm trying to say is this: you are a judge. Multiple parties have conflict on issues. So, okay, a day was set. Well, come and present your cases. One side came. The other side did not come. They were presenting hearsay stories. Even SEC said, oh, no. By 1 o'clock that day or 2 o'clock, we had moved our people out. So the only person who was before this panel to give his own side of the story is the ENDSARS protesters. Sure, you understand? Okay, look at another thing Mr. Mohammed was saying, that, and I think one or two other lawyers said something like that, that how can you now say somebody is calling wisdom, somebody is calling beauty, that these not fictitious, this not, look, I said this was disconnected from the reality of life. Look at what happened at Ikoyi, when that collapsed. Okay. Most of the people there are all these liberals, people that carry pampa and everything. You just say, oh, damn you. When you die, sure you understand, like I mentioned of the 99 persons that died, why was mass burial given to them? Why didn't family come and claim their body? They made an announcement, people didn't come. See, but if you are disconnected from the reality of the existence of the masses, you just be thinking some things are not right.
Well, as I said, there's still a lot to unpack, and as many people have said, perhaps we wait for this white paper. But before we let you go, a number of questions may arise from my colleague in Abuja. Marco.
Thank you, Ayo. Thank you so much for coming on the program, Mr. Ogulano. I just want to ask, are you confirming, because you say you were a member, you were at the panel, you represented ENDSARS protesters, are you confirming that this is the report, which has not been published officially, but this is the report of the panel that was submitted to the Lagos State government?
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes.
How are you so confident?
As counsel? Why am I so confident? I'm affirming. You asked me whether it is. I said yes. You said, why am I confident? I said I was there for 13 months. I'm not just any other about the band commentator. I was there. I participated. Even the panel itself, we know as much as them about what goes on because we participated. We were there, you know. And incidentally, you see that nobody is even talking about the report on the normal SARS brutality. You know, why are they hot under the collar over this one? Yes, you've asked me, yes. Lai Mohammed is sure too. He's a minister. He's not a special person. I'm sure that is the report. I'm sure.
Okay, well, some lawyers have said it's unethical to discuss the report until it has been published by the Lagos State government, which now has in its possession the hard copies as submitted to it by Justice Okuwobi. I do not know if you want to, mention that, but some people will also ask questions as to good faith, the leaking, as you confirm, of this report. Members of the panel say that the Lagos State government kept faith by, saying that they will not interfere with the proceedings of the panel or in terms of the judgment that it reaches, that they expect them to carry out their work independently. But now this report was leaked on the very first day, at least the report that we're seeing around. We saw it on the day that the panel submitted its report to the Lagos State government. In your opinion, do you think that that was a sign of good faith? We don't know where the leak came from, but ostensibly it will be from the people from the area where the report was compiled.
Well, if you want me to react to you, you yourself, you have said that you can't be sure where it came down from. There are two things. It was submitted, so the person submitting and then the person who received. Both of them are in a way institutions. The panel is an organ of the bigger institution, the appointer. So what are you now saying? There's a saying in our land, I think in all of our people ethnicity, that a talk, a discussion that has gone beyond one person is no longer a secret. So the office of the Lagos State Governor, if it's a different thing, if you say the report came out before it was submitted. That's not the situation. So it was after it was submitted that came out. So how can you, are you an oracle? And then as for the issue of people saying that it is unethical, what is the ethics there? What is the ethics? What is the ethics? What is the ethics? Because when I say it's unethical, what is the ethics? At any rate, you can't eat your cake and have it. You can't speak from both sides of the mouth. Owo ni koko, I talked about it. It's for Lagos State government. SAN had spoken about it, analyzed it. It's from Lagos State government. If we are people from Lagos self, what of Mr. Alayi Mohammed, Abuja, who are traveled outside the country? Well, we have talked about it. So it's not an issue. And when we are talking, let me quite tell you, from a radical perspective, I'm the leader of the radical agenda movement in the NBA, I'm a member. From the radical perspective, law, bourgeois law is not meant for the upliftment of the masses of the people. Where is the bourgeois? And what, okay, I used to say in law, okay, what injustice? What injustice has been done?
Well, Mr. Oglano, there are so many issues around this, and we just have 6 days before the release of the white paper. Yes. Let's just hope that some justice, as everyone is expecting, will be done. Let
me react to it.
I'm sorry, we really have to go now because
but
so
quickly,
many.
We are hoping. We are not hoping. Our position for the ENDSARS people is that we are demanding that justice must be done. It's not a matter of hoping. Exactly. It must be done. Exactly. We are not begging them. We have said we are not begging Lagos State government or federal government, but they will do the right thing. They will be accountable. And if not now, later.
And that is why the part of what my colleague said, that the Lagos State government kept faith by ensuring that the panel was indeed independent. And we have seen something, and we're hoping for. Well, we are hoping. You are certain. I guess we're all expecting the same thing. Additional Ogbulano, legal practitioner, lawyer to ENDSARS campaigners, and former chairman, Nigerian Bar Association, Ikeja branch, and you also talked about Ramimba now.
Radical agenda. Movement in the NBA, we are radical lawyers. Because this country, if Nigeria is not okay, the legal profession cannot be okay, the judiciary cannot be okay.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Well, Sunrise Daily returns in a moment with another issue and another guest. Do stay with us. Well, right now we are joined by His Excellency, the Governor of Abia State, Governor Okezie Ikpeazu. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, one of the amazing things that I've heard, and which I'm actually very excited and expectant to understand, is something we find in the, in the report of the National Bureau of Statistics, that Abia State has emerged the third most preferred investment destination. And I'm definitely something that excites you. The question then is, how?
Well, how? There are a few things a subnational leader or leader of a subnational government could do to support the inflow of foreign direct investment. One of them is security. If you work hard on the security of your place, your internal security, then you could have people look your way. The second is governance, institutions around transparency, rule of law, and predictable policies, stability of the polity. And then you can begin to talk about other things which may not be entirely under my control, like electricity and then infrastructure. On all of this, our state since 2015 has been careful and intentional about making sure that Abia remains one of the safest states, not only in Southeast, but in Nigeria. Secondly, Abia is perhaps the most peaceful state in terms of socio-political stability. We have complete harmony between the executive and the judiciary, and between executive, judiciary, and the legislature. And everybody is on the same page in our zeal to make sure that our state begins to grow. Thirdly, we have been careful and strategic about our interventions in infrastructure. We deliberately ensured that the roads we do are the roads that lead to our economic nodes, not roads that lead to the houses of political bigwigs. Because of this policy, we have been able to, in a short while, open up some major economic nodes in our state, and we thank God that people are responding. Unfortunately, we are surrounded by very deplorable federal roads, so it's been a problem trying to access Port Harcourt, which is just 30 minutes away from Abia, because it's a federal road. We can't go to Ikotemene from Umuahia, we can't go to Ikotemene from Abia. And all we did was to try to do an alternative route from Ikotemene to Abia, so that we can get patronage from people from that flank. Today, we have done over 200 completed routes, and we are on about 70 more, which we hope to complete before 2023. We have also been careful in making sure that we mainstream small and medium-scale enterprises, which is the strength of Abia people. And we have been rewarded with the SME award of one of the most popular newspapers in Nigeria today. Beyond that, we have won more than 5 awards at the presidency, individual awards and state awards. Abia State was one of the 5 states that made contributions to the improved rating of Nigeria in terms of ease of doing business. So we've been intentional and careful to make sure that we work on the enablers that will drive the pillars of development in our state, and I'm not surprised. Just a few days ago, Afrexim Bank injected $50 million to support electricity, independent power of geometrics in our Barring first area, to support small and medium-scale enterprises. So that, again, will speak positively towards our indices in terms of foreign direct investment. So I'm happy that what we are doing is looking up. By the grace of God, we will move from made in Abia, made in Abia, to come and make in Abia. That is the philosophy behind the Enyimba Economic City. So Abia is working, and I thank God that before the end of 2023, we'll be in a better place.
Well, Your Excellency, it's quite cheering to hear all those, and one can only hope and pray that things get better. But when you mention roads, it only brings to mind that issues that were raised by the NBA in Abia State concerning roads. We understand that they were just about to embark on a strike, called it off by the intervention of members of the NBA in your government. They were about to go on strike because of the poor state of roads. But that, of course, that has been suspended now. And so I'm wondering, how are the people in Abia taking on board these developments in the light of that strike that's just recently called off by the NBA in Abia State?
Well, I thank God that there was no strike, and there is no strike anywhere. And run up to 2023, one expects to see all kinds of things. In Abia alone, we have completed over 45 roads. And the best way to respond to you is to say that there is no inch of road in Abia today which you are applying and people are enjoying without my signature. Because you must benchmark your assessment of an individual from where he is coming from. And I have even done the internal roads within the high courts. And all we are trying to say is those who want to instigate protest in Abia should come and listen, so that you hear firsthand, and we'll hear from you which roads you are complaining about, which are the roads you are complaining about. I understand that some lawyers have issues with Fox Road. Fox Road is a major road that leads into area. And the position of government is that this is a road we handed over to Heartland, which is a subsidiary of Citraco. And in the past 24 years, this city, Abia, have not had the benefit of a grade A contractor working on the roads, except this time that we brought Heartland, a subsidiary of Citraco, and we have Arab contractors working at Umaya. When you give a road to Citraco to do, it means you are serious about getting the best value for that road. For 30 years, that particular road has been locked down. Nobody could move from one end of the road to the other. But through the engineering prowess of Citraco, they were able to open the road and solve a perennial problem around a place they call Ukumango. But as they were working on this road, they blocked the road, and the traders could not go to area because incidentally that road is the road that leads to area. And pressure came. Some members of the NBA, some religious leaders came and appealed to government to please prevail on Citraco to allow them use the road. And when I did that initially, Citraco said they will not because they were yet to do the wearing course of that road, and it's still under construction, and they will not guarantee that that road can take the heavy ASU load of building material traders conveying their goods to and fro on that road. But at times, government will take a decision to please the people and suffer whatever the consequences may be. And unfortunately, I prevailed on Citraco because I was trying to give a human face to all of this, and they started using the road. They've used the road for quite some time, but the rains of this year got some spots on that road very, very bad. And the company has been remobilized to go back and complete the road and make sure that it doesn't become that vulnerable again. But so it's a road under construction. And if you are protesting against a road under construction and the contractor hasn't exited, are you blaming the contractor or you are blaming government? What are you protesting about? So our prayer is that these very highly respected bodies in our state should not yield themselves to political manipulations run up to 2023.
Okay.
Which is what every person in that position expects.
Well, just 1 second, Your Excellency. We need to take a couple of messages, and then we will be back in a moment to continue this conversation. So please stay with us. His Excellency, the Governor of Abia State is still with us, Governor Okezie Ikpeazu. He joins us virtually. Your Excellency, once again, thank you very much for your time this morning. Well, the issues that you have raised, especially about infrastructure, of course, everyone knows how important that is. I know you've talked about your intervention in the power sector as well. And you even said, recently, that as far as you're concerned, the problem of power, the power sector in Abia State is going to be a thing of the past. Is it already, or how soon should we look forward to it? Because, as you said, it is very important to the micro, small, and medium enterprises.
Yeah. I think there is every reason for us to be hopeful that between now and next 6 months, we will be very, very definite about how things will pan out. Where we are today in terms of provision of power for my people is certainly better than where we were yesterday on account of this financial closure and respite which Afreximbank brought to bear. And permit me to use this also to say that Afreximbank is not a frivolous bank. And before they will invest $50 million, they would have studied the ecosystem and the prospects of the ecosystem and tie it with what we are doing as a government. If I can paraphrase the comments of the president of Afreximbank on that joint showcasing of that signing, he beckoned on me to share what my strategy was, how I managed to bring all of this together, because he smartly tied up the impetus power would give to our Enyimba economic city, which is the most brilliant free trade zone in Nigeria today. I mean, in terms of packaging and prospects. And if you have a combination of such a futuristic project that promises to take away 650,000 youths from the streets, with the impetus of power, you will now know that we have created an economic magnet that will bring and attract people to the Enyimba ecosystem for business. So we've been intentional about making this happen, and that is despite all the challenges we've been facing. So I'm very happy that in 6 months' time, we will be definite about the commissioning dates.
It's actually definitely something to look forward to, Your Excellency, given how important power is not only to business, but also to health and education. But then, while infrastructure development is going on, it would also be good to talk about human capital development and conditions of service. For instance, there are some allegations making the rounds that Abia State government hasn't paid salaries of some staff in the health sector and even in the polytechnic of the state for more than 20 months now. And is that correct, or is it something that the government is working on?
Okay. There are two categories of public servants in Abia State. The civil servants, which number about 24,000, they work in the various ministries. None of them is being owed any salary. However, we have some departments and agencies that are supposed to be revenue-generating entities. At some point, the Abia State Polytechnic had a student population of about 15,000, which will give them close to 3 billion every year, and they collect the money and appropriate to themselves. The job of government is to pay subvention to support capital development and expansion and research in those institutions. I cannot take up the burden of paying the salaries of a revenue-yielding entity, which collects the revenue and does not pay one dime into the coffers of government. The reason is simple. I was a lecturer myself, and the head of that institution has the right to decide to go and bring Zuckerberg to come and teach ICT. If he does that, he must be willing to pay. And in doing that, he will not take permission from me. He can decide to hire Professor Wole Soyinka to come and teach literature. And if you want to hire Professor Wole Soyinka, you must be willing to pay. So there has to be a balance between what you are spending and what you need to run your school. And that decision and determination has to be made by the leadership of that institution. So I am not yielding myself to painting everybody with the same brush. And I don't treat frivolous people with kid gloves. So this is my way of saying to those departments and agencies that are revenue yielding in the state to sit up. We have had Abia State University responsibly run by a vice chancellor for 4 years that did not go on strike, and they were not owed at that time. The music was truncated by COVID because the students didn't come to school and school fees were not paid. That was when Abia State University started having a big problem, and we're looking for ways of providing a bailout. So there is no time for free lunch anymore. And I cannot be coerced or blackmailed by what people say in the media to put my money in a pocket that is torn. If a bucket does not have capacity to contain liquid, I will not put my water or my precious liquid in that bucket. I will insist that the right things are done. I must see the right balance. I give you another example. That polytechnic you mentioned, for instance, at some point had 60 people manning 2 gates. 60 people manning 2 gates. They had over 150 people working in canteen that is supposed to be pay as you go. They had over 35 people manning a sick bay that is outpatient. So how am I going to get money to pay? We have over 5 million people in Abia State. So why should I be encouraging that kind of thing? I have given them a bailout of 2 billion naira in one fell swoop. And I told them at that time to make sure that they use this 2 billion, pay off whatever they are owing, and go ahead and pay themselves. I will only pay subvention, and that is my position and the position of government. I will release subventions to agencies and departments that are revenue yielding. And the subventions are specific for development, infrastructural development, and research. It is not for, you're not supposed to misappropriate it also. So that is the issue, and I am unrepentant about it.
Is that also correct, Your Excellency? Is that also true for the Abia State University Teaching Hospital?
Oh, yes. Abia State University Teaching Hospital is also a revenue-yielding entity. However, I have special sympathy for Abia State University Teaching Hospital because it is also involved in teaching and research. But they claim that the revenue they generate every month is about 13 million naira. And their resident doctor's salary is about 16 million naira. And they get 130 million from government every month as subvention. Why are they owing the resident doctors? Is that their intelligent revenue not sufficient to offset at least the salary of the resident doctors? Here is also an institution that I have, because I told them that my strategy is to do 2 things. One, that I will support equipment and infrastructural development, and then that they must use the equipment and the infrastructure we're providing to ensure that they render service to the people, so that the hospital will become popular and people can start coming. And I have given, I cannot remember exactly the figure of how much equipment I have imported from America and handed over to that school over the last 4 years. But if you go to that place, you find out that most of those who are supposed to be on duty are not on duty. And because they are not regular on duty, a lot of people find it difficult to patronize that institution. So we are working on it. I am not going to give up on Abia State University Teaching Hospital. I will continue to support them, but I must also whip them to line so that they can do the needful. Management has to be right, and they have to do the right thing, and they have to be on duty. The road leading to the University Teaching Hospital was bad, but now I have done that road because they claimed it was because of the road that people were not coming. But I have found out that patients come to that place and they divert them to their private clinics. So it's a big problem, and I hate to pay, you know, the Bible says that a worker deserves his wage, but that is somebody when he works. If you have not worked, which wage are you deserving of? You know, so I think that we should find it in our hearts to help the system. And if you don't come to work and you expect to be paid, it is serious. Because what you have done is to inadvertently kill the institution. So I'm not going to give up on them. Whatever outstanding they have, we'll keep paying. I hope that by December we'll be able to look at it once again and pick up the ones we can pick up. Sometime in the past, I have given them 13 months salary arrears, and I paid that in one check. And it should be known to the public that at that time I had not stayed 13 months in government. So this has been a recurrent problem, which I inherited. And I'm working hard to make sure that even in the midst of other things that I want to do, that I also look at their issues.
A few months ago, when we took up, Your Excellency, a few months ago when we took up this issue of non-payment of resident doctors, your state topped the list of those who had not paid resident doctors. You've stated what your challenge is, but don't you think that 20 months is a long time for doctors to be owed as a result of, you know, your dissatisfaction with the management of the hospital?
That is not exact. I didn't say that they are being owed because of problem with management. In the first place, I'm not too sure it's 20 months. I don't have my facts off my fingers here. But whatever thing it is, nobody should be owed. But I'm saying that if you are running a hospital and you want to get paid, the way to go is not to stay at home or to take away patients that come to those hospitals to your own private clinic. The way to go is for you to work. Government will do two things, not only paying you salary, because paying you without equipment in that hospital will amount to not giving the people optimal service. So I said I was going to provide equipment, and I've given more than 2 container load of medical equipment. And I have more, I have 6 more container of medical equipment that I'm also prepared to give them part of. And I said, you must work, you must be diligent in serving the people at your duty post. Then you must use the equipment that I have provided while we work on making sure that as the people are coming, your revenue will go up, and then whatever subvention we bring can bring us to a place where we can solve the problems one day soon. But if you go to a place and the teaching hospital will take delivery of only 6 deliveries.
You've talked about revenue generating entities, if I hear you correctly. You've talked about the polytechnics and how they're generating revenue. But oftentimes, when people talk about education and they talk about health, those services are perceived oftentimes to be social services, many times heavily subsidized by government intervention. Are you seeing them as revenue generators of your government, or you're seeing them as part of the services which you will provide for the people of Abia?
I'm saying that For the polytechnics, for instance, revenue generation is not to say that they are competitive in the market. There are schools in Nigeria that charge 4 million naira, 4.5 million naira per medical student. But if a school charges 350,000, 500,000, it is subsidized because people are paying 4.5 million naira in Nigeria. What I'm saying is that the one you have collected, you must account for it. If you collect 2.5 billion naira a year, well, are you going to tell me that if it's used to pay salary, that heavens will fall? And government, talking about subsidy, subsidy is not a very simple thing to do, and it is not, certain things must be allowed to grow organically. There are categories of schools, even overseas. I know of some schools overseas that charge as high as $75,000 tuition. So if you put your child, education cannot be said to be a cheap thing, neither is health a cheap thing. That is why we have health insurance. And Abia State has keyed into the basic health insurance for pregnant women. If you put to bed in any of our primary health care centers, you get 500 naira free. They give you, delivery is free, they give you a delivery pack, and they give you 500 naira. That is running for the vulnerable members of the society. But if you want a certain level of Medicare, you should be able to pay until we get to a point where everybody can, the health system can be insured. So I'm only saying that you cannot take away the patients to your private clinic, and the little one you are getting in that hospital will not come, and you are sitting in your hospital and you are claiming that somebody is owing you.
Your Excellency, let me quickly clarify this. You say that when pregnant women give birth in your facilities, they get 500 naira. Is that correct?
500 naira, yes. Yes, and the backpack.
What is the 500 naira for, sir?
Free delivery. They give you 500 naira to it could be for anything. Are you asking a poor woman what she will do with 500 naira? Some people don't have it. Yes.
Well, I'm just trying to put it in context. When you look at how much, for instance, say, how much you're charging as school fees in Abia State Polytechnic or even the university, there'll be questions as to what 500 naira really can do for someone who just gave birth. When you look at the cost of even baby items in the market.
See, the delivery is free of charge. You get a bath pack, delivery pack, set of whatever you need to clean your baby and take care of your baby is given to you. And in addition to that, you get additional 500 naira. At least it will pay your way back home. Are you suggesting we pay people for for delivering children?
Well, you're the one who's embarking on the policy. Well, that's why we have to ask you what exactly the 500 naira is for. But let's move away from, social, because and for a number of people, they'll actually be a little worried that you do not know for sure how much resident doctors, how many months resident doctors are being owed in your state. They have come up with a figure as of the last time we checked, which was about 3-4 months ago. They say that it was about 20 months. So if it was 20 months as at 3-4 months ago, if nothing has been done about it till now, it certainly will be around the region of 25 months. You're not able to dispute that.
No, I'm not going to. But I have said the most important thing, which is nobody should be owed even 1 month. Nobody should be owed even 1 month. But I don't want to be melodramatic about it. I am saying that everybody has a role to play if we have to firm up the system. You have forgotten that I mentioned here that I paid 13 months in one fell swoop in 2016. By the time I had not even stayed up to 6 months as governor. So it's been
the determination then should be that you would not owe any during your own administration.
Oh yeah, my administration is still running and we're working hard on it. If everybody sits up. I have given you an example of an institution that their management told the path of rectitude, and we were able to keep them running for 4 years without problem. It is possible, it is doable. We have done it in some institutions. So there is a reform going on, and you must key into that reform if you want things to work.
Let's move to the issue of security now. The Southeast in general has, seen an upheaval. There's been the question of agitations by IPOB. There's also been some farmer herders problems before now. In your state, what exactly would you say are the solutions? Because the Southeast, we know in general, Southeast governors came up with Ebu Biagu as one of the solutions to their problems. Were you able to successfully establish Ebu Biagu, or do you think that the problems of security which you faced in your state required a different solution?
Well, thank you very much. I want to say in the first place that the security issues in the Southeast has not been properly diagnosed. It is not the same type of problem we see in, for instance, Northeast. If we diagnose the problem properly, and then we can be able to provide solutions. But I am happy to say, and to God be the glory, that Abia State is one of the safest states, not only in this geopolitical zone, but in Nigeria generally. And our strategy first was to look at what causes the problem between herders and farmers. And we set up, since the past 2 years or so, herder-farmer conflict resolution committees at the various local governments. And members of that committee include whosoever is the leader of the Hausa community in that area, the DPO, the civil defense, the DSS, and then the local government chairman. And their duty is to intervene quickly and take complaints from farmers, assuming they have somebody heads cow to trample on their crops. And then if the farmer gets angry and the cow is killed, let them intervene, and then government pays some compensation for such losses, making it difficult for our people to take laws into their hands, which has been the problem of herder-farmer conflict in other places. When the issues escalate and maybe not resolved at the local level, the Commissioner of Police sits as chairman of the State Herder-Farmer Conflict Resolution Committee, and it has worked. So we talk about all the conflicts, we discuss it, and then we get it resolved one way or the other. Back to Ebu Biagu, yes, we have established Ebu Biagu in Abia State, but the duty and mandate of Ebu Biagu in Abia State is slightly.
Oh dear, I'm pretty sure that will be
sincerely.
Okay. Please go ahead, Your Excellency. We lost you for a second.
Ebu Biagu in Abia State is not supposed to take up arms against any AK-47 wearing people, but they will gather intelligence, and they are largely drawn from hunters, palm wine tappers, and some farmers and local vigilante people, and we equip them with bicycles, Android phones to take pictures and transmit through the ward leadership of Ebu Biagu to the local government leadership, and then finally to the state, assuming it escalates. And we have done well, picking pieces of information, strange movements, and that is why Abia State has remained relatively quiet. Beyond giving God the glory, I think we are intentional about making sure that our state remains safe for investors.
Well, that's cheering news, but just one last thing before we go, Your Excellency. And this is more on a national level. There's been a lot of talk about, getting young people involved in governance, giving young people a sense of belonging in the scheme of things in a country. If you would advise a roadmap, whether at the subnational levels, the states, or even at the federal level, what would be your own strategy? What would be your counsel on how we engage young people and integrate them into the system in order to have them in leadership for now and in the future not too far away?
Yeah, I think there is a model that has been practiced somewhere. I don't know where it's talking or somewhere. I've advocated it elsewhere, and that is to gather young Nigerians from all over the world. Go to Princeton, go to Harvard, go to Oxford, go to University of Nigeria, Nsukka, go to Ibadan, go to Ahmadu Bello, wherever you see them, people within the age bracket of 18 to 35. Bring them together and ask them, put them in one place. It is my own kind of conference. Put them in one place for 6 months and ask them to, segregate them into different areas of endeavor. Some engineering, some ICT, some economists, some medical people, and then some agri people, and then ask them to come up with a blueprint of the kind of Nigeria they want. I think it was Turkey that did that. Okay. Let them tell us about, because Nigeria belongs to them and not to me.
Do you see how, that possible? Do you see us being able to achieve that in Nigeria in just 10 seconds, Your Excellency?
Yeah, why not? Why not? That is the only way. You must hand this thing over to the youth and let them tell us the kind of Nigeria they want, because we have spent our time and wasted most of it, my generation.
Well, Your Excellency, this other thing, you've heard the Speaker of the House of Representatives say one of the reasons for championing the direct primary in the Electoral Act is so that young people can also be integrated. What's your own take on this issue of direct primaries? Because we understand that some governors are not on the same page with the National Assembly on it.
Direct primaries is good, but that decision has to be left with political parties. You can't legislate the growth or the dynamics of a political party, because predominantly the National Assembly is populated by people from a particular political party. And if majority in that National Assembly will have their way, what it means is that this political party wants to foist the internal mechanisms on another political party. Those who believe in direct primaries and those who don't believe in direct primaries should be allowed to evolve side by side and present themselves to Nigerians. Let Nigerians ultimately decide which system is better. But when you come and say, that is my problem, and again, it is going to be a bad law, because it seems to me that it is targeted at a group of people, that they don't want this group of people to have dominance or whatever. And
oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, dear, dear. Just about the time we were supposed to say thank you, but then we also say thank you nonetheless. Just one of those things we have to deal with when it comes to technology. Governor Ikpeazu, His Excellency, the Governor of Abia State, thank you so much for your time this morning on the program. And with that, we'll wrap up Sunrise Daily this morning. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm Ayo Makinde.
And I'm Malkwell Green Yusuf. See you next time.